It's 12:01. I'd like to call the
I saw that too. That's what I.
January meeting. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
From Duluth. Well.
All right, I'd like to call the January meeting, Yampa Valley Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting to order. And the first thing is I'd like to welcome our new members, and I'd like them to take 2 minutes to tell a little bit about themselves, why they were interested and why they are interested in serving on the board and what they hope to accomplish. So we'll start with Shannon. Ladies first.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Shannon. I currently work as a care coordinator with the Health Partnership here in Steamboat. I also work part-time for Advocates of Route County on the hotline. So I've seen firsthand a lot of how housing impacts people and how having access to good and quality housing really can improve quality of life. So I'm hoping to improve that. Yeah, for members of Route County and Steamboat and beyond.
Thank you.
Sure.
Scott.
I'm Scott Yates. Currently founder and president of Mythology Distillery. So on that hand, I'm interested to try to help out with 20 to 30 employees, pretty well paid employees that, I'd like to be a part of the community and be part of the solution. Probably one of the reasons I'm on the board. Prior to founding Mythology Distillery, I was a commercial real estate developer. Developed a lot of multifamily. I was specifically in the LIHTC world, built about 700 LIHTC units. So I bring kind of a technical expertise that I can offer.
Thank you. Dan.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are there any samples available?
There will be samples.
Debriefing over.
That's right.
Mark's like, can we have our meetings at Mythology?
Really?
For lunch.
Hi, Dan.
All right, well, I'm Dan Burry. Currently, I'm the e-commerce manager at Honey Stinger. I previously worked at Big Agnes for many years. I also am a part-time instructor, very part-time. But yeah, I've lived in Steamboat since 2013, and I've seen firsthand how tough it is to make it work here for people, in situations like mine. And I wanted to start to give back to my community and understand the issues that surround housing in Route County a little bit more. So I volunteered as part of the committee that was deciding the future of Brown Ranch over the past year, and learned a lot, and was invited to become part of the board, and I'm excited to give my perspective.
Thank you. John, welcome back.
Thank you. Let's see, I came here in 73, and it took me like 7 years to be able to afford a house with a friend of mine who co-signed for my mortgage. And once I bought my house, or once I had a mortgage, which was more likely, I found I had a stake in my community. You pound your stake in the ground, tie your ankle to it, and this is the place where you're going to defend your life and what you're doing. I got involved in Ralph, which is the regional affordable housing, and then we went to the Housing Authority, and I was on that board for, I don't know, maybe too long for some people, but about 5 years ago or whatever, I didn't get back on. And even though I'm not on the board, I felt like I was part of the Yampa Valley Housing Authority, because all my friends and my folks, we worked real hard for the STRs and the annexation and everything else. So, and I never let back on that, even though I was on the board. Now I really feel like we had this 10-year plan about 6-7 years ago for the milk tax, and we told people 6 years ago or whatever, we're going to show you the housing authority that we can build houses and do the job great, and you can trust us, and we're not maybe infallible, but we're still worth your investment. So now we have 2 or 3 years left in that. I think 28 is when it goes due, and we need to get back and show the community in many ways that we have it together. No matter what people say, all the disinformation, it was time to maybe fix our own act a little bit and have a better relationship with the community. There's Diane and I knocked on probably 3,000 doors for the last 3 elections. We talked about 600 people, and we have a really good pulse of what the average person feels out there, no matter what their category, whether they're mountain, town, or whatever. So I have a really feeling like I've got supposedly of that 500 or 600 people, out of the 3,000 we actually talked to seriously. So I want to see us get our act together, get our community to like us better, and get going again. Because 28 is coming up real soon. I think we should start now, working on that mill levy and providing the information and the credibility we need to get back the support of the community. Because that was our 10-year plan. I'm back on again to make sure that 10-year plan occurs. $1.7 million that we get, I think, last year in mill levy, if I'm incorrect, correct? A little more than that. That's important. Without that, before the mill levy, we were just kind of lost. We had no money to do anything. All we did is support the systems we had, and we did not move ahead. And this 10-year plan was to move ahead. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, John. And I want to just acknowledge our former alternate, Steve Montine, who's now not only president of the board, but the primary representative from the city for the board. So Steve, did you want to say anything or?
No, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to move up from alternate to the ex officio on the board. And I look forward to working with everyone. It's nice to see some of the new faces that we interviewed a few weeks ago. So welcome to all of you. And if you talk about the alternate, so I'll let the new alternate introduce himself.
Dave Barnes, the new alternate, obviously making a name for myself quickly, and sort of contrary to some opinions on the Yampa Valley Housing Authority, but just want to represent the community. I believe the Housing Authority has great bones, great structure. I believe it's an asset and building and retaining affordable housing. I want to see the city put parameters in place so that these measures that we make for affordable housing cannot be taken back away during the next recession, sort of how we lost our inclusionary zoning in 2018. And, you know, I'm really here to be part of the voice that maybe hasn't always been represented as far as the affordable housing.
Thank you. Next is public comment. Do we have any? Sorry?
Do you think it might be helpful for the new board members if the existing board members should go around?
I'm gonna given our time constraints, what I'm going to suggest is the new board members go to our website and each of us have a bio. And maybe we can do that in the February or at the SURSA meeting and talk a little bit more. But I think right now, okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? We have some members of the public here. No public comment? Okay. Then welcome. Board member comments.
Michael answer, maybe just run around the room and just say.
Just
No,
introduce.
just say a name so that.
Yes,
they
that
can-
would be fun. That would be fine.
We
Catherine,
laid
you
out.
want to start?
Catherine Carson. Hi, guys. Welcome.
Welcome.
Maddie Ward.
Cole Hewitt, welcome.
You are there, just me. But
Mark, you're up.
Mark Alverson.
Elliot Lawrence, staff deputy director.
Kathy Meyer, president.
I'm Jason Peasley, executive director.
Lucha Tour, vice president.
George Eck, the lawyer.
Michael Amlott. Angelica Salinas.
Okay. And we do have lots of staff on board or on the line. We have Leah Wood, former or past president, who's now a citizen. And then we have a member of the press. So let's move forward to board member comments. Who would like, are there any board member comments? Catherine?
Yes, I would like to make a board comment. It's such a friendly atmosphere. I don't want to take away our positive energy, but this is a positive comment. And the way that I would just like to say that I listened to city council on Tuesday night, and I would, and when an elected official on a public dais asks for the resignation of any government public servant, it is both unprofessional, it is bullying. I would like to please encourage our partners with the community that if there are any issues with personnel, to please respect and go through the legal and personnel policies we have. We need to work together. The focus needs to be on building housing, working with our community. So Steve, as council chair, I'd like to just respectfully ask when these comments come up, to please remind people that we need to be respectful, we need to work together, and particularly for personnel issues, to please go through, the legal and personnel processes. Kathy, as a board chair, I'm assuming we're going to re-elect her, is very open to that discussion. So I would just like to please encourage a professional, constructive dialogue to work together to get housing built. And also, I think offline, we also need to enhance our process to address misinformation presented both by council members and by the public, particularly when they're referencing and criticizing our staff. There were some comments made about Elliot Lawrence that were not accurate. Elliot takes non-compliance very seriously. There have been 2 issues of non-compliance that I have documented and brought to him in the past year, one for a light deck property, one for another property, and he acted immediately and has worked on remedies. So I recognize light tech is confusing. There are some things you can file complaints on, some you can't. But I think it's important to have accurate information and to find a way that we don't amplify misinformation, that we respond to it professionally and for solutions. So once again, I want to thank you again, Elliot, for the great work you've done on our properties and for remedying those 2 situations that I brought to your attention.
Well, let me just respond to you in one. I think misinformation is kind of like the buzzword of our country and the world these days. It occurs everywhere. Whether we want to blame it on social media, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But misinformation is everywhere. And when I was at English 400 with Jason and Mark and Tom the other day, we had and I mentioned this at the council, we had the opportunity by chance of meeting 3 OPG Mission Rock employees, personnel. And you start going over some of the questions, you realize there's misinformation even when we talk to them about certain things. And when you talk right to the horse's mouth, so to speak. There's a lot of things going on. And I think we need to make sure that, to your point, that we don't feed off of misinformation. But I think the other side of the coin is that not everything is black and white either. There are definitely shades of gray. And I think we need to recognize that too. So I hope we can be respectful with each other as this new board, especially with all the new members that are on this board. That respect is kind of a linchpin of what we do here. And it's good to have robust dialogue. I love to call it that. Healthy debate, healthy conflict. That's really what respect is important.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
All right, any other board comment? I have one. There were 2 requests coming out of the city council the other night, and one is that the city council members, and I would add Tom, the city manager, would like the board packet every month. So we can make that happen, and if that's the case, would the county like as a reminder, the board packet is on our website.
Yeah, no, county doesn't need it. I forward it to the county commissioners and to our managers every month. We talk about it weekly, so we don't need you guys to do any extra work.
Okay. And then the other is the results of our 360 Board of Directors questionnaire that everyone filled out. And I have said, I met with Jess yesterday, and she has updated the report. I'd like to go over that with Jason, and then you, Steve, it will probably end in your inbox on Monday. Okay. All right, that's all I had. Okay. The next item is the board officer elections. And typically in the past, we propose a slate. We did not do that because the executive team did not meet until after the board packet went out. And both Lou and I were installed as president and vice president last July. We would like to continue serving. However, this election is open to anyone who would like to run. So I would entertain a motion to nominate the existing slate of officers, which would include Cole, which we haven't talked to him about. And then have any other nominees from the floor.
I assume I can make a motion.
Sure.
Yeah,
There's kind of
Okay.
setup.
Yes.
I don't know if she'd accept it, and she doesn't know I'm gonna make this motion, but I'd like to suggest that Michael Ann be the vice president.
I'd like to hear everyone's, I'd like everyone to throw their hat into the ring so we can see where all of the interest is corresponding to that.
Okay.
Yeah, Kathy, I don't think we need to start with the motion. I think we should see who wants.
Start with discussion. So the discussion was that both myself and Lou are
Ready and willing to.
ready and willing to continue in our current posts.
And
Interested in.
And then Mark has,
who, I
Yeah.
would ask, who else is interested in serving in either of those positions?
Is that 3 positions or 2?
2. Well, 3, including the treasurer.
Cool, yeah.
Yes.
Michael Ann is not apparently.
I would support the 2 leadership team members staying in their post, but I'd really appreciate that.
Okay, any further discussion, any other nominations from the floor? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We promise to be up to the challenge. All right, consent agenda. A consent agenda is similar to what the city and the county have. These are items that require little or no discussion. Hopefully everyone's read the minutes. There are no write-offs, the check register, the financial statements, and the vacation carryover approvals. Is there any questions about any of these consent items?
I just want to make the comment, not meaning to jinx her, but special good vibes to Riley Jacobs and hopefully Sandy's daughter, she's very close to qualifying for the Olympics, so get excited, fingers crossed.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as proposed?
Motion to accept.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Who had the second? Catherine? So we have a motion by Lou and a second by Catherine. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, now we're gonna move to staff reports. And again, I hope everyone's read the staff reports. We're gonna start with Jason. And to the extent any of the staff questions have to do with either Cottonwoods or, well, just Cottonwoods, I would ask that you hold those questions unless you feel that they should be in public. So Jason, you want to take over?
Yeah, and just kind of furthering on that, we do have a public session to discuss Cottonwoods and then the executive session to discuss Cottonwoods. So if you have any questions around that, we will get into that. What I want to talk about is the OPG Mission Rock meeting that's occurring on the 14th. So as many of you have read in the newspaper or have heard, representatives from OPG, Matt Gillum, who's their managing director, their head of asset management, and one of their asset managers will be in town to meet with the city. That'll be, I believe, Councilman Barnes and Montine. And then There will also be folks from Mission Rock. My understanding is potentially their CEO, they're trying to figure that out. But also some of the, what I would categorize as sort of the top brass there. Meredith, who we met, turns out to be the CEO. Yes. And so anyhow, that meeting is happening on the 14th. And that will be an open meeting.
We'll also include the county.
Yes, thank you. And Helica will be there representing the county. And I am working with Elliot and the city to produce sort of a series of questions, pointed questions that we want to ask the folks at OPG and Mission Rock, specifically related to management practices, oversight, getting into the weeds of like, how are you managing the parking situation? And also like, what are your staffing levels? What are your maintenance expectations? How are those being communicated? How are those being tracked? All of those types of questions that the community has had. And so we are putting that list of questions together, ideally getting that out to them in advance so they can be prepared to answer those questions, provide evidence and backup. So anyhow, that is the current sort of status of that meeting. Ideally, coming out of that meeting, actual action items and verifiable standards that we can be holding Mission Rock and OPG to, so that these properties meet our community standards. By way of a little bit of a history, this has not been the result of YVHA not trying to impact this type of change. The amount of attention that it's drawn right now has been incredibly good at forcing OPG and Mission Rock to show up and to address what are ultimately some management failings. Elliot on our team has been meeting ad nauseum with these folks, bringing up these issues and getting no results. Or very little results, I should say. And so I appreciate the fact that this is being elevated. Ideally, we all share the goal of seeing these properties bettered for the people that live there. They deserve so much better. And so I'm looking forward to that meeting. I hope that will be the sort of watershed moment that results in significantly better living conditions for all these folks.
Hey, Jason, are you, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
I'm through.
I just wanted to thank Councilor Martine again, thanks Steve for his leadership and making sure this was public. It's very important that this is open to the community. So I really appreciate your leadership on that, Steve. Thank you very much. And also just to reinforce what Jason said, I mean, the board members that know that, Dakota and I were constant voices wanting to do more. I mean, when this first started in 2023, I was ready to rally my friends and clean up myself. So I appreciate the city helping us partner on this because Elliot has worked diligently and Jason and his team to get Mission Rock and OPG to get things done. We've gotten a lot of promises, not as much action as we should. As I said earlier, on the cases that we had documented compliance violations, Elliot has elevated it to get it done. I can't express how much I appreciate that. But this is an important way that we can finally hopefully get some accountability from Mission Rock and OPG. And I just hope at the end of it, Jason, because we've had these meetings with Just Housing Authority for years, and they've come back with metrics and promises, and it just hasn't happened. So I think we need to be firm on our expectations and what we could do on it. And then my other question, I had thought that Mark and Kathy were both going to be representing the Housing Authority Board. And I understand Mark is unavailable. I do think it's important for us to have a strong voice. And I was going to suggest, just so we can make sure we have the information there, that, Leah Wood, our former chair, was very involved with property management. She was a chair and lead through a lot of what we've been doing. And I wonder if it'd be helpful, since she has that history, for her to be a representative or another member of the property management team. But it just seemed, I just thought that might, since Mark can't be there, maybe, I know Leah's not on the board, but she's still on the property management team, if that might be an idea. Because we need to make sure this is a productive, firm meeting, and Leah does have that history, and I know I'm kind of volunteering her when, but just a thought on that. And then also, I know that you guys are preparing a list of all the items that, you've been working on and asking them on over the past numerous years. I almost think you need to be a visual and bring in the stack of papers of every single thing and said, this is what these are all the requests we've made. Because Jason's right. I mean, we need the community support on this to getting OPG and Mission Rock to have the standards we have, not the LIHTC standards, which I think are not adequate, but to have the steamboat standards. So I just think we need to do what we can to make sure we have success.
Yeah, and I think that's a fundamental in this situation is that the standard expectations around what is a quote unquote good looking LIHTC property is well below the steamboat standard of what is a good looking property. And that is a sad realization. And one that we need to address. And it may take resources to get from that existing standard to our standard. We need to be aware of that and prepared for that. Looking forward, I just want to forecast a couple things from board meeting standpoints, and if we need to circle back on any other items on the agenda, we can. On the 26th, there's a special meeting to do a mandatory training with our insurance company, CIRSA. CIRSA is a government insurance company, and their main, is he an attorney?
Yes.
He's an attorney.
Yeah.
He's their general counsel.
Yeah, general counsel Sam Light will be kind of going through what are the finer points of working as a board member for a housing authority, which is in effect a government agency. There are just some nuances associated with that. We want to make sure that you guys understand that and set you all up for success. This is something we haven't done with the existing board members in quite a while, so I would highly recommend that every board member try to attend. We will be doing this on Zoom. If you can't make it for whatever reason, we will have it recorded and you can watch. But the benefit of being there is A, you get the information with everybody else in the room, and you get to ask questions of the guy. So you can say, hey, what about this quirky situation? I'm sure Catherine will have one. And so the point being is that this is a really important training for just the overall edification of the board. It's really important. In addition to that, we're looking to schedule a board retreat, and that will be a facilitated retreat, just helping everybody understand we have a big board. There's 13 of us. How do we organize ourselves as a group? How do we execute on our strategic plan? What are the roles and responsibilities of the board itself, the work teams that we have established, the staff, so that everybody understands the structure with which we're working in. That is anticipated to be February, maybe March. We're working on bringing in a consultant to help do some pre-work on that, and then also set up that actual retreat. And then the last thing is our normal March meeting would be the 12th of March, but it's being moved to the 26th. And the reason for that is that the timing of our 2025 audit has to be approved before the end of March. It's not usually ready on the 12th, early in the month. So we're moving that a couple weeks later so that we can take action on the 2025 audit. The process for that audit is starting right now, doing field work, getting everything ready to submit to the auditors. And so that is just sort of outside the standard kind of cadence of meetings that's coming up. So if there's any other questions related to my report, please feel free. You can always ask any questions outside of the meeting or shoot me an email. I know we have a tight agenda today, so if there's anything you want to just talk about on the side, feel free to just grab me.
Thank you.
Jason, just real quick, about the board retreat and
Yes.
having it facilitated. the Craig Sheckman Foundation has been running this series for board members and board chairs specifically for 2 to 3 years now. Every quarter, they run another, at least every quarter, maybe bi-monthly. So you may want to check with Sarah on that. They have been using some, I think, are some really good folks to lead those retreats
Thank you.
or those sessions.
Yeah, if you could connect me up with who, I mean, I know Sarah, obviously, but we'll look into who that might be.
Mark,
I'm disappointed I can't be at that meeting, but Diane's getting her left shoulder rebuilt at Stedman on that day. So get somebody else that'll ask pointed questions. Steve asked pointed questions, just as an example, while we were standing in the stairwell and we had the 3 of these people, I asked the building manager, who does the cleaning in the buildings? And she said, a company out of Craig. And we said, how frequently do they clean? And it was every other week. And then she volunteered. However, they haven't been cleaning at all for a period of time. And it was, okay, why? Because they haven't been paid. Why haven't they been paid? And I mean, we got the manager of Mission Rock standing there. Well, the condo manager said, because I have 2,000 emails and the invoice was stuck in the middle of that. So the Mission Rock person said, listen, we've resolved this. We've changed it, so now the invoices go direct to us. And we've increased the frequency to once a week. I said, that's great that you've increased it to that. When you get it increased to twice a week, that would be like a bare minimum. But they're moving, but there are a ton of issues. And it was astounding. We had a very interesting 20 or 25 minutes in the stairwell with these 3 people.
my understanding is the building was cleaned on the prior Friday.
It looked like they just cleaned it Friday because it was presentable.
Okay. Any other questions of Jason's report? All right, we'll move to Elliot.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. A few operational updates and some property updates. We're in the process of submitting an STR grant to the city for our Whitehaven Water and Sewer project. Emily and Elizabeth have kind of been working on pulling all that information together. In addition, we are working through our $100,000 grant application to the Upper Yampa River Conservancy District and should be having a hearing and meeting with them later this month to get some to see if we can get this grant approved to help go towards our infrastructure project there at Whitehaven. Jason kind of covered the meeting coming up next week with us and Mission Rock and OPG. Property surveys, we are starting to get those results back from our residents at Hillside Village and Whitehaven and Fish Creek. A little less of a response than we've seen previously. As you can see up there on the screen, for what we've gotten, kind of below what we've seen in previous years. So we talked about resending that out and looking for some additional participation from our tenants. But overall, what we've seen so far is comments related to upkeep of the maintenance of the properties in the summer and the winter, as well as our management team, how we're doing with communications, and the results are, I would say, standard or a little bit above average from what we've seen in previous years. So we'll continue to keep the board updated as we get more results back from our tenants. One thing I wanted to mention for the new board members, we'll be doing photographs for each of you to put on our website at next month's board meeting. So we'll include a notice on that in our packet that goes out for February. I do the pictures for that, so if you guys could show up like 15 minutes early, and we just do them right out here in the breezeway. So we'll knock that out for our next board meeting. From a property standpoint, we're still tracking in a good spot with buildings 2 and buildings 1. We are just had a OAC call right prior to this board meeting, and we're still holding the February 12th date for building 2. And we're holding the mid-March date for building 1. We have our punch walks scheduled for building 2 coming up here the last week of January. So we'll be going through all the units, corridors, stairwells, garage spaces, and some of the exterior punch list as well for that. And then our building 1 punch list will be sometime at the end of February. So I'll let the board know how that is going. As far as kind of major critical items that are related to the construction, we're finishing up our elevator installation, and that's scheduled to be inspected on January 30th. We also have our fire alarm panel inspection, and that's scheduled for the week of January 19th. Heat tape gutters is in progress. They just started installing appliances this week in building 2. Our water line and the meter and the backflow is all active in building 2. And they're working through that. They've seen minimal leaks. So Houseman's kind of working on that on a unit by unit basis and making sure that we don't have some sort of major water leak, but so far so good on that. And then our trash enclosure and carport installations are continuing. At Hillside Village, I'm also making some good progress with that. I currently have 7 architects that are interested in submitting on the RFP. The gentleman that we've engaged to do the as-built drawings, he should be finishing those up here at the end of January. And I'm still on track to get a RFP out for architectural services for that kind of mid-February. And I also have a couple general contractors, Danu being one of them, and Icoda, that are interested in providing some pre-construction and estimating services to go along with the architects. So making good progress on that. We still continue to have our bi-weekly meetings with Enterprise Community. They're providing the technical assistance to us on that process. So those are some of my updates.
For reference, building 2 is the building that parallels Highway 40, and building 1 is the one that's perpendicular. And Danu and Icoda are excellent.
Catherine. Okay, thank you. Thank you as always. I just want to reiterate on the Hillside Village rehabilitation that we need to make sure that we're going to keep our USDA subsidies, and that however we work on financing is not going to involve a rent increase for tenants there. Is Hillside for the new board members is an excellent property. We have on-site management, on-site maintenance. It's a community. I mean, it's a true community, but we have a lot of very vulnerable residents that have disabilities, that are retired, and we get USDA subsidies, and we need to really ensure that how we move forward with this does not jeopardize those subsidies, nor requires rent increase, large rent increases for other tenants. So, and how are we working on confirming with the USDA that we'll keep our subsidy? I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of money in huge plans if we're not going to be able to finance this or pencil it without jeopardizing either the subsidies or rent or affordable rents.
Yeah, so Emily is working on that piece with Jason. And I know we've hired a consultant who's kind of analyzing the appraisal and the rent rolls and just looking exactly at what the cash flow for the property is. So I think more to come on that. You guys have a meeting coming up with
Yeah, we're meeting with USDA to talk about that specific question. The whole plan is to do a tax credit 4% tax credit rehab of the property and retain the RA, the rental assistance from USDA. That has been done in the world of affordable housing before, so it is possible. It is not something that's commonly done. So we're working with Enterprise, as Elliot mentioned, as technical assistance on the USDA side. And we're also working with Ryan Jones, who's a consultant, tax credit consultant, to help us kind of marry those two programs together. As if housing itself is not super complex, we're just going to marry two really complex federal programs. So all of that is absolutely worth it, because as you mentioned, Hillside Village is the best community. And the people that live there are incredibly dedicated to that community. People who work there are incredibly dedicated to that community. And it's like 45 years old. It needs to be rehabbed. So we want it to be an asset for this community for, decades more. So this is how you make it happen. But it's going to take a lot of work.
I appreciate your expertise in this, Jason. You know how I feel about the AMI rents on my tax with our inflated AMI rent. So we just need to be very thoughtful on that.
I have one question for you. Elliot, clarification. When we send out surveys, do we send that out to all properties or do we send that only to properties that we manage?
Only the properties that we manage and own: Fish Creek, Whitehaven, and Hillside Village.
Is there a resistance to us sending out surveys to the other properties?
I don't know that that's come up, but it's certainly something we can talk about on Wednesday.
Yeah. Good topic for that conversation.
Any questions of Elliot? All right. Then we will move, and there are two board members that have a hard stop at 2:00. Is there any objection to moving item number 7 to the end of the meeting after the executive session? And that's the board orientation. And Jason's kind of covered a little bit of it, but we'll redo it again. Any objections? No? Thank you. Then we'll move to the resolution, Sunshine Resolution 2026-001. George, you want to take us through why we're doing this, the Sunshine?
Yeah, real quickly for the new board members, this is just a resolution that needs to be passed. We typically do it at the first meeting of the year for the mill levy and continuing that. And all that. No, wait.
This is the posting of our.
Yeah, this is for public meeting requirements every year.
Yeah, so just to add a finer point to that, we post our agendas for meetings in multiple locations. They're all listed here, 1 through 5, including our website. And then, so that's for normal, regular board meetings. And then for any work team meetings or special meetings, it's posted outside of the YVHA offices, which are above Vector Bank.
And this is a requirement of the state, and every government entity is subject to what's called sunshine laws.
Move to approve resolution 2026-001.
A second with a question.
Wait, I had a second by Lou. And
You have
then
a question?
And then a question by Mark.
On the posting in the 5 locations, is that required at all 5 locations each meeting, or is it pick one? And
By us adopting this resolution, we are requiring ourselves to post in these. Yeah, and thankfully our colleagues at the city and county actually do a lot of these postings for us. So we send it to the county. They print it out, put it on their county courthouse bulletin board. The city will do the same thing.
Okay, I have a motion by Cole and a second by Lou. Any further discussion or questions on the motion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, now we're going to move to the strategic topic, Cottonwoods at Mid Valley update.
let me. So as far as a public update is concerned, I wanted to just kind of get you guys up to speed on where we are from a sales, or I should say, individual qualification standpoint. So just to get the new folks up to speed. Cottonwoods is a deed restricted affordable housing property. So anyone who's going to buy there needs to qualify under the deed restriction. We're currently doing that for folks within the community. So we had several hundred who filled out the initial interest form. From that, we invited them all to come and submit their paperwork. We have 85 folks that are actively in the process of qualifying for the deed restriction. And so that process then funnels to the lottery. The lottery is trying to fairly allocate those units to individuals. Because it's such a great deal, thanks to the city's contribution, we have such low sales prices there. We see a lot of demand. So we're working folks through that. One of the components that is currently underway is kind of just finalizing and getting the lottery components dialed. So we keep talking about the buildings being ready in February and March. We're keeping a keen eye on that because the folks who are interested in buying those units sure as heck want to know when they're going to be able to move in. And so running the lotteries creates a cascade of events that ultimately gets them under contract, and then they close and they end up living in the units, which is our end goal. And so we're getting that all dialed so that we can hit go when we have a lot of certainty that the units will be available and ready on X date, whether it's the 12th or whether it's the 10th. That's part of the process that's going on. In addition, we're standing up the HOA that these folks will be part of. And so Elliot's been doing a ton of work setting that up, working with Steamboat Association Management, who will be the HOA manager. And then lastly, we're working with our partners at the agency who will be helping us with the actual contract transaction. So anyhow, that's going to be the flow of people who have expressed interest moving to homeownership. Lala and our team are working on that as we speak.
Do we have an updated count? Last board meeting, 51 were fully approved.
Yes, right now we have 85. Lala's on if we have a particular update on exactly like fully approved folks, please jump in and let us know.
Yeah, so we currently, let me do a quick math. We've got almost 77.
Thank you, Lola.
Yep.
Laura, just curious, how many people have expressed interest? I'm not sure all the board members know how active people have been in terms of expressing interest in the properties.
Yeah, so the initial amount was 268, I believe. We just had run a campaign to do a bunch of touch points, so I need to re-up those. A couple have dropped off my current graph of those. We have received some comments of people who got into Riverview that have said, you know, this just isn't my time for this piece. But we definitely still are seeing the interest, I'd say hovering between 100 and 120.
Lala, last meeting you had referenced that the real estate team was moving, Michael and were moving forward and doing more traditional commercial, real estate outreach, putting it on MLS. And I was wondering, like more for market type of marketing. Are we still moving in that direction? And I noticed it's not on, is it going to be on Zillow, or what is the expanded outreach in this final month?
You want me to take that, Lala?
I was gonna say either or, if you want to start and I can follow up.
Yeah, so to Jason's point, we're getting everything ready to press go as soon as we're ready to launch the lotteries. And so we've committed in the lottery implementation plan to advertise that the lotteries are happening at least 2 weeks before we start running those. So that'll include, we just had our first couple of ads at the paper. I don't know if anyone saw those. That's got a QR code, and then we'll do the same for the lotteries. Once we have those details, social campaign to follow, those types of things. And then we're working through the details of what that would look like to put them in the MLS, which will obviously syndicate those out to the more traditional real estate sites like Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, and all of those.
Will 2 weeks be adequate time for people who, or some reason hadn't heard about them, to still get qualified in time for the lottery?
We think so.
I think so. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, right now, what we're doing is we're just populating this large group of people who are now qualified, ready to go. And so the more we can do that with this, you know, the 200 and some people who are interested, the more we can move them through to that stage, the better off we will be when we're ready to hit go. And 50 more people are like, whoa, wow, I got to jump in now. And so that's the whole point of the work that's being done right now, is to try to move those people from like mildly interested to like a qualified buyer.
Thank you. Thank you, Lala.
Yep. John, for context, we had at the real estate team meeting on Tuesday, we had 50 people who had been fully qualified, and now the number's gone up by 29. They were in document correction, so we've got a pretty efficient funnel.
And I also do want to thank, I think Julia's online, the pilot, because we got quite a bit of interest after the pilot article also. So that was a good opportunity for the community to know about the opportunity. So I thought I heard that she was on. So if you're on, Julia, thank you.
Sean, you had a question?
Yes, I've talked to a number of people who have applied and they didn't qualify. I was wondering what are some of the main reasons why people are not qualifying. The reasons they gave me, they earned too much, they had assets. What are some of the other reasons you found?
I think Lala would know on the people who didn't qualify.
And I can just clarify really quick, we don't have an asset test with these
So
units.
it's just income then?
It's just income and local work.
Do we have a margin of error because it's a gray area, like $1 under, $1 over, or are we just strict?
We have.
So for the purpose of initial qualification, it's not a hard yes, hard no. It's we think you may or may not qualify. Once you get into the actual deed restriction qualification, yes, you have to be $1 below the threshold. And you know, that's the purpose of the actual verification process in the deed restriction compliance. Is, you know, we're getting tax returns, we're getting pay stubs, we're getting verification of income so that we can say, yes, you do in fact meet this income qualification.
There's also tiers of the units, so it's different from 80 to 140%.
Bedroom, 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
Well, and in the case that you're $1 over, you wouldn't qualify, but in the case that you're $1 under, we are holding funds for closing cost assistance that we would try to help get people there if they were just right within reach.
Is this local requirement of work here?
Yes.
How many months?
80, what?
How
How
many
many
hours?
units?
How long months?
30 hours.
30 hours.
30 hours.
We also have the components for semi-retired, retired, disabled, and self-employment. So all of those are counted for. RSLE and I have tried to reach out to most people if they have been disqualified. So we've had someone who's been retired. So when they entered their initial income, they didn't meet it. We were able to move them from receiving that initial ineligible email to eligible. So we've tried to have a lot of personal conversations just to understand what circumstances are. I think the other big component for this is most of what YVHA has done is rental. So people that are claiming maybe they're ineligible didn't fully understand up front that this was a for sale piece. So the whole lending component is also, it's not our eligibility requirement, but it's an eligibility piece to go through this process to purchasing. So I think that's where some people are also finding they may not make it just because they can't get the loan.
And then also for the new board members, Lala, can you also expand on how we're messaging the down payment assistance funds that we received and their availability for future homeowners?
Yeah, absolutely. So Emily and Elizabeth did a great job and were able to secure $500,000 of down payment assistance, specifically kind of in hopes of Cottonwoods. Obviously, it's open to anyone within Routt County and people that have opted into the Prop 123 funds. I will clarify that for this fund. And so we've met with lenders. So all of our local lenders, we've got a list of about 11 that are very familiar with the program to help people through their independent financial circumstances and to make sure that that DPA dovetails in with whatever lending product they're using. We also have some of this stuff on our website. We've sent it out to a lot of people. On your initial pre-screen form, we ask if you're familiar with it and kind of where your funds sit. One of the requirements is that you do have $5,000 and we're asking for kind of that proof of funds to help with closing costs and such. So people that don't have those are asking a lot of questions and we're able to provide them that resource. YVHA also has their own down payment assistance that kind of helps fill the gap. The initial $500,000 only goes up to 120% AMI. So the Housing Authority has an additional down payment that helps up to 150% AMI. So we're really able to cover everyone that would be applying to the Cottonwoods.
Okay, thank you. And I wonder if it would be an idea in the ads to also include that there is a down payment assistance program, just so people who, like Jason said, the 50 people that, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity, that might not know it's an opportunity. Just the way that we can expand that marketing, just maybe some messaging, just a thought.
Yeah, that's fair.
I also really quick on just the whole process. Thanks, Lala, for the updates. I think that to use Steve's buzzword from earlier, there's been a lot of misinformation in our community about deed restricted housing, period, that nobody's interested in it, that it actually isn't a good investment for young families or families trying to buy a first time home. And I think that this is the numbers we're seeing is proof that that's just not true. There is interest. It is a step in the door for many families. And so the more we can, I know we don't have a communications person on staff right now, but I do think we need to make it a priority to continue to tell the story of how valuable deed restricted housing is and can be, and the opportunities that it does present people trying to buy a first time home. We're seeing people qualify, we're seeing the interest there. And I think that it was, there is a lot of disinformation. It was talked about ad nauseum during last election cycle about how deed restricted housing is not good. It was talked about ad nauseum when we talked about Brown Ranch. And so we need to clarify that, the more that we can communicate to the community that there are people who would rather pay 30% of their income for a deed restricted house than 50% on a rental. And so the more that we can communicate that publicly, the better.
When will we get a staff member for communications?
Sorry, about,
She mentioned we don't have a staff.
that is correct. This is a little off topic, John, but do you wanna?
Yeah, we're just in the process of hiring a new staff person for that. And that process is taking a little longer than we had thought. We actually did have somebody who we had targeted. They didn't accept the job. I think we're ultimately going to be reposting the job again. And so it'll be probably another couple months before we have somebody there. So what we're also looking for is potentially doing some contract work in the interim to have some support in that area, because it's a really important need.
I think that's really important right now, these times, like, really important.
Any other question? All right, then we will move from our strategic topic and we will move into executive session. Let me read.
Hey, Kathy,
Yes,
do we want to offer the opportunity for public comment since there was a public here on the Cottonwood agenda item?
I don't know. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I'll make a comment. Somebody suggested that, and I'm not speaking for all the citizens of Steamboat, but I feel like you guys are doing the Lord's work. I love you all. I just don't think you're taking care of the people that you're housed as well as we can. I mean, we just have a responsibility to do better. And so, I'm a big fan of yours, but I need to see the people taken care of, the way they deserve to be taken care of. So thank you for all of your work and have a great day. Thank you.
Are you referencing the existing buildings or are you referencing future?
I'm sorry?
Are you referencing the existing buildings or are you referencing future?
The existing buildings. I have friends that live in them and, you know, they've spoken at public meetings. And I've been saying for 2 years, we're not doing good enough. And you guys are coming around my way of thinking, so I appreciate that.
We do not disagree with you. We agree completely. And it's, at least I've been one voice, I'm irritated about the whole thing.
And I'll say
I think
thank
it's
you
gonna
all.
change.
But the other thing I would say, in some cases, it's not disinformation when we disagree on something, you know, and Angelica brought up, you know, the financing of Cottonwood and there's two sides to that opinion and it's not, this is the truth and this is a lie. It's just two different opinions. And you know, when I say something, I firmly believe I know the facts and I try and stick to them. Just because we disagree doesn't mean either one of us is lying. It's just, we have different views and that's okay. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we're out of here. So yeah, and I just wanted to real quick, again, I think YVHA is a great organization. I've been here for 30 years and I love that we're moving in this direction. You know, there's been city councils that have moved backwards and if they wouldn't have, we might not even be where we're at right now. But my biggest thing is this is Steamboat. This was happening in Denver with the buildings that we have that are being managed by third parties. It would be way tougher for us to change that because it's a bigger account, right? This is Steamboat. And I just want people, because just like Andy said, I've got friends that live there and this has been happening for 2-3 years now and they're just struggling. And that's what I can't see in my community, you know, and it feels like we can do something about it because we're nimble enough. So we have to think about that. And we have to think about this, you know, we can go into another session and another session, but these people are living their daily lives in these things. So we have to do something about it, okay? And I think that we're all implicit with it. You know, as for what we've done for them in the past, you know, our friend that lives in one of those buildings shared, I think she shared it with the city council. She shared with me the emails trains that she would delineate. It would be a 5 or 6 page email and she would get an email back. I'm sorry, we can't do anything for you. Contact a management company. So to say that we've been doing enough, I don't think is really fair. So that's all I wanted to say. And you guys have a great day.
Thank you very much. And guys, I just reaffirm that the board is committed. And there's a lot of us on this board that are even more frustrated than you are on the lack of action in this wrong. We appreciate the community support of helping to get this done. Because this has been something that we've been saying is not adequate for, I was gonna say 3 years. So thank you for your support and just getting some actions.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
I've been asked not to comment, so you guys have a great day.
Thank you very much.
All right. The executive session will be held in compliance with Colorado Revised Statute 246402. 4E, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. And CRS 246402-4B, conference with an attorney for the local body, for the local public body, for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions. The topic is Mid-Valley Partnership. Let me explain what executive session is.
Did you want me to do that or?
Oh, I can do it. I can do it. And then, because I'm gonna give those of you who are brought up in a certain religion know that there's something called the confessional. And if you break the seal of the confessional, you can go to hell.
It's pretty straightforward.
didn't think you could do that.
So what goes on in this room?
The newspaper is still
Oh.
online
All right,
and
we need,
there's staff online.
well, there are two staff members that are allowed to continue, and that is Lala and Emily. Julia, we're gonna ask you to disconnect. And Leah. Thank you.
Sarah,
Yeah, you have Sarah's phone, and then we'll need to stop the recording and restart.
Yes.
I have a
Yes.
quick question. Will you need minutes for the orientation after the exec committee or after the executive session? And if so, will somebody like text me or something to let me know to reconnect?
Yes, we will.
Okay, great. Thank you.
thank you, Sarah.
Okay, I just got to wait for the motion for exec session so I know who's making it and not, and then I'll get off.
Okay. Let me finish my statement. So what is discussed, executive session is an opportunity under Colorado law to discuss matters, not to make decisions. And to instruct the negotiators and to get advice from our attorney. So there are two other exemptions that we aren't dealing with today. And that would be personnel and acquisition or leasing of real estate. So those are the four exemptions under Colorado law. Now, George, did you want to add something a little less colorful?
No, I did great, Kathy. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Basically, for the new members, it's if you're buying or selling a house, you wouldn't want the other side to be privy to your call with your realtor.
All right. I'm gonna turn it over to Jason.
Well, we still need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion and a second then a vote.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Mark and a second by Lou. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, we're in executive session.
All right, well, give me a second.
All right, Sarah,
She's got it.
got the motion and the second.
She's going.
Okay.
All right.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, you wanna,
What was that motion again?
to come
I know. It was-
come out of the executive session, it was Mark
second by
and Lou. And we need to adjourn the meeting.
We need to read something, say nothing was discussed and all that.
No decision.
No decisions are made.
No, that's right. As part of who was participated, if anyone thinks that in participating, we made any decisions, please indicate that now. All right. For the record. Now we need to text Sarah and just tell her we
I'll handle it.
did, okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you again, everybody. I
you.
really appreciate it.
You're a new member.
Thanks, George.
Yeah, thanks, George. Yeah. Hey, guys, welcome to Housing Authority.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm pretty sure my first board meeting was like half executive session and I just sat there like, haha, yeah. There's a learning curve.
I mean,
We should have looking at Jason.
That's why they have me, I'm on it. 3 years.
It is,
Yeah.
Takes a year just to start.
So to your point though, like all of this is
Yeah,
predicated
see, now
on
it's getting
the cash flow from the sales is fixed.
Yes.
So to your question about what's this gonna do for the.
Yeah,
That's what I read the memo. Is it the same?
That's,
Is that the only thing we do?
that's actually the whole point of conservation houses, is that.
Yeah, that would.
Works. And part of the formula before we do the.
And that's why I read it, I looked at.
And,
And that's why.
No, they won't say.
And stay on.
What happens if we don't have enough?
And they should not his last name, but they're.
Oh, we have 77, there's 86 units.
No, I mean, there's gonna be like one or two units or for some number of units are just hanging out.
Good to meet you all.
Yes, thank you.
PR funds come in, right?
Good, you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, thanks so much.
Come in, right, it flows. So,
Great guy.
they know that, and they won't shout. That too. Yeah, oh, you're selling me. Yeah, sorry.
It's like it all really emotional.
I mean, that's it, find out.
Yeah, he gets all bent out of shape. He's the guy that has been managing and all this and has randomly signed
Personally.
exchange orders without
Truly
any inputs of any.
They identified their power, which was
This full $6 million.
this guy that got us in this place on the first day.
And the other,
Yeah.
that's the lone tree.
He's no longer.
And they have,
realized he was the problem.
they have
Shut it down. So
money
a
partner.
couple new men.
and Nebraska, father, son.
You know, it just.
Dad is the father, Ben is the son.
They can look at them and say.
Mullen,
Take it from here.
that's the last
So
name.
they were.
And
Money.
these are the two guys.
Yeah. From now.
The rest of them have one. These guys have, these guys,
I
they.
don't think their reputation's down, ruined. To be honest with you.
Attorney and.
Hey, Elliot, will you stop the meeting? You're still recording.
Yeah, sorry, that's on me.
So.
Yes, and they.